Next speaker, Jonathan. Our next speaker is Jonathan Bryce, Executive Director of the OpenStack Foundation. It's my pleasure. Jonathan, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. I want to thank all of you for attending and all of the sponsors who helped make this event possible, and then especially Mirantis for being the main organizer and putting in the bulk of the work. It can be quite a lot of effort that goes into these. So thank you, everyone, for participating in that. I don't have any exciting foundation acquisition announcements today. We haven't bought anyone lately, so I'm sorry. But I did want to talk about some higher-level concepts that we've really seen developing as trends around the world, and OpenStack is kind of right in the middle of this, and it's really something that's happening in countries all over, in industries that run the gamut of everything from tech to manufacturing to finance, and it's really exciting to see this kind of shift that's happening. So I, had coined this term at our summit earlier this year in May in Atlanta, the software-defined economy. And what I think that's really all about is this environment that we're in today where every company is competing with a startup. Whatever size your business is, whatever industry you're in, there's some startup that's nipping at your heels, moving faster than you move, rolling out innovation, and really challenging you every day to be able to get products, services, updates in front of your customers faster and faster and faster. And you can look, again, across industries. If you're in banking, you've got to go up against Stripe, PayPal, Square, Bitcoin. Everything that we know about the finance industry from 100 years ago to today has shifted dramatically. Big media. Netflix won an Emmy last year, and that was something that was very surprising to a lot of people. And then that doesn't even get into the new forms of entertainment that are taking screen time, and people are spending their time away from major motion pictures and major television shows. And so, the mainstream companies have to figure out how to deal with that. This is something that you even see in the automotive industry. You see it in the other areas of transportation, like the taxi industry with Uber and Lyft and these things. And one of my favorites, which is another Elon Musk example, is how SpaceX is even forcing the U.S. Air Force to compete with a startup. They're challenging them for contracts to launch rockets into space. So it's happening everywhere. It's happening very broadly, and something that I think is really exciting to see. So I called that the software-defined economy. When I talked about that in May, some people said that I was just adding to the endless lexicon of words that describe basically the same concepts that have always been around in technology. And you're welcome. This is not copyrighted. It's open source meeting, so you can take a picture of this and play buzzword bingo throughout the day if you'd like. You look at this list of things, and you've got IaaS and SDN and NFV, and what's the difference between SDN and NFV, and is it really that different than what we've had forever? And you go through that, and you look at all of those concepts, and you're kind of just like, what does it all mean? At the end of the day, what is the point of all of it? What does it really get down to? And for me, when I talk about the software-defined economy, when I talk about cloud, and any of those concepts, any of those shifts that have been happening, it really gets back to the ability to change easily, to move quickly, to not be carving decisions in stone. When you choose a vendor, when you choose a technology, when you roll out a product, doing it in a way where it's much easier to make changes on an ongoing basis. And really, it all comes down to choice. To me, that's what the software-defined economy, and anything that we put the software-defined label on, it's really about choice. And I think that is something that I've seen in the last decade become an incredible game changer, especially for IT. If you think about 10, 15 years ago, the way that IT was provisioned and delivered within organizations, it was really a model that I call passive consumption. You worked with your vendors and you took what they sold you and you went on their upgrade cycle, which, by the way, most of those were multi-year product cycles. And you were fine with that. And if you worked inside of a company, you used the devices and the software that your company gave you. How many of you do that anymore? No one does that now. You bring your phone, you bring your tablet, you make your choice of decisions about what hardware you want to run, what software you want to use, if you're going to use Google Docs, if you're going to use Dropbox. This happens over and over and over again. And very rarely are people just passively consuming what they are offered anymore. And I have a couple examples that I think are kind of interesting. When I was running the public cloud at Rackspace, I had a senior executive from a very large company, Fortune 10-ish, one of the largest companies in the world, who came and tracked me down at an event, and he said, I have a problem with you. You're allowing my employees to sign up for your services and do official business in your environment. And he wanted me to come up with a way to basically block employees from his company from even signing up for our public cloud services, which in and of itself is kind of a really impossible task. He was like, blacklist our email addresses. I said, if they really want it, they'll use a personal email address. This is why they're doing it. You can put up a wall and they'll dig under it or crawl over it. They're getting what they want. And I said, maybe what we need to figure out is, what are they looking for that you're not offering them, and how can we help you, meet that need? More carrot, less stick, so to speak. The other side of that is at the OpenStack Foundation. We are not a Fortune 10 organization at all. We have, I guess, 13 or 14 employees now. And our director of biz dev, her name is Heidi Bretz. A lot of you have probably met her. She lives out here in the Bay Area. She was not satisfied with the contact management system and tools that we had when she joined. And so, she went and got the tool that she was used to and a SaaS application and started using it. So whether you're a Fortune 10 company or a company that has 10 or 12 people, what you see is that everyone is kind of taking control of their IT decisions. And you have shadow IT even in a group of 10 or 12. It's kind of funny. But I think what this really points to is that the central planning committee is dead. No one is passively taking what they are offered. And the business units and all of the components and different departments in the business don't accept force-fed technology anymore. It's really interesting to, again, think about this shift. Every single employee in a business now is making technology decisions. You go back 10 or 15 years ago, it wasn't that way. And I think that is a really, really interesting trend to look at and to identify. And that's the key thing that I think is so appealing about cloud and this movement that we're part of. All of these technology decisions, they're moving farther and farther out to the edges of the business, away from central IT. And if you look at many organizations today, even software development itself, is happening all over the business. It's not a central software development group anymore. So the most successful companies are finding ways to build frameworks and platforms for their organizations that allow their businesses to create the environments they want. I just saw a piece of news this week that I thought was kind of an interesting analogy. Lego is now the world's largest toy company, passed Mattel in the first 6 months of this year. As a toy, what does a Lego allow you to do? It allows you to create the environment that you want. Both of these are frameworks for creating what you want. And I think that is exactly what we see with cloud. Some people talk about cloud and virtualization. What's the difference between cloud and virtualization? Is there really a difference? Is it just a new buzzword? I think that if you look at how they have been adopted and how they've been rolled out, virtualization was driven by IT. It was a tool that made managing the technology environments easier for the IT teams primarily. And I did a very large virtualization rollout a decade ago, and it made my life a lot easier. But it didn't turn into the same level of benefit for my end users, for my customers. Cloud is being driven from the edges of the business by business requirements that are moving much more rapidly. And this cloud revolution has given everyone in the business the ability to make technology decisions. Martin was talking about how important the voice of the user is, and these themes that I'm hitting on, they're things that I haven't just identified on my own. They're things that I hear over and over and over again from the OpenStack users that we talk with on a regular basis. It's a real privilege that I have, that I get to talk to OpenStack users on a weekly basis and hear what they're doing, how they're using it, how it's changing their business. I was speaking with an OpenStack user recently, and when he talked about the number one benefit that his organization received from having made the shift to a true cloud environment, he said, it's about moving faster. And he said, nothing kills innovation like having to submit a ticket. You can have a great idea, and if the next step in the process of getting that idea implemented is submitting a ticket, momentum killer. So I think that that's really what this is about. Cloud is about removing those barriers and allowing that innovation to flow freely, naturally, and keep moving forward. As I said, we hear this a lot from our OpenStack users, and we created a publication that we launched in May called SuperUser. You can find that at superuser.openstack.org. And it's really interesting to see some of the stories that are on there from different users and different sizes of organizations, different kinds of environments, and kind of follow the discussion of how they are changing their organizations through technology and enabling people to do more and move faster. Earlier I talked about the different industries that are having to compete with startups. Banking, big media, auto, et cetera. We had some users speak at our event in Atlanta that I think gave some really good insights into what their organizations are facing and how they're approaching them. One of those was Glenn Ferguson from Wells Fargo. And Glenn talked a lot about what he called the line. And he said that for him, OpenStack provided a very important line inside of his organization that allowed choice on both sides for the IT team and for the business units. So above that line, there were APIs, there was instant provisioning, there was self-service, there were tools that allowed them to build out the environments that they wanted, when they wanted them, and continue to move and keep iterating forward rapidly. Below that line, that was the IT department's purview. And in that area, they were able to make the decisions that they needed to based off of cost, capability, vendor relationships, and be able to support the technology requirements of the business, like security and compliance, the regulations that they have to make sure that they're in line with. So it was a very key thing for him to have that abstraction that allowed both sides of the business to have that choice. And OpenStack has really the broadest support for the most technologies. If you look out here at the area where there are sponsors, you'll see networking and storage vendors, you'll see tools, you'll see monitoring, you'll see paths. It's an incredibly rich ecosystem that has grown up around OpenStack in the last 4 years, and it's one of the biggest benefits that we hear from our users. The ability to choose the storage technologies they want, to mix and match them, but then to give a consistent experience to their users above that line. One of the other speakers we had was Chris Lonnie from the Walt Disney Company, and Chris, Chris he has a lot of lines. He said that now it's all about fast. People want a faster Lover's Pizza with an extra side of faster. and he also spoke at OSCON this year, and I was able to watch him there. And there what he talked about was really, if you were running an IT department in this kind of an environment where everybody's making technology decisions, you really have to think like a product company. What do successful product companies do? They have a focus, they iterate, they get feedback, they find early adopters, they make them happy, and then they kind of broaden the pool. And he talked about going through that same process inside of Disney as he built out their cloud infrastructure. And he's been very successful at creating an environment that people are opting into. He said, your audience is no longer captive. There are other options out there if you are running IT. You have to be appealing to them. Think like a product company. And he gave some good tips for that. You can find his talk from OSCON if you want to look that up. One of the things that he talked about, I have to give him credit for this. He put up a slide at OSCON that had this list of items. What do these items have in common? A Geiger counter, a hot air balloon, nitroglycerin, lie detector. What's the common thread? They were all things that the professor invented on Gilligan's Island rather than plugging 2 holes in a boat. In a lot of cases, the things we do, we can lose sight of the end result, what the real purpose of it is. And so, think like a product company. Think like your customers, and make sure that you're focusing in on what they need, what they want, and that you're laser focused on providing that for them. And finally, there's a top 10 auto manufacturer that did a case study, and you can find this at openstack.org/enterprise, that talks about how they built out a car cloud for their team that takes in data from all of these various sources, things like dealer reports, insurance filings, social media, testing from the wind tunnels and simulations that they do as they design the car, and then turns around and outputs that in a lot of different deliverables so that the design engineers, the marketing teams, the service teams can have this kind of holistic view of all of the feedback and all of the data that a particular model of vehicle is producing around the world. And they did this with an OpenStack environment that cost 1/10 their previous appliance that they were using, and their previous appliance was not actually even able to fully process the jobs that they were trying to build out. So that's something else that we hear. It's not just about moving faster. It's not just about abstracting out the technologies and having choice, but it is cost that is a driver for a lot of these companies as well. Those are a few examples. If you can join us at the OpenStack Summit in Paris starting November 3rd, you'll hear from another dozen users plus some that aren't on this list. But companies like BMW, Orange, Time Warner Cable, and many others. And some of these stories are really exciting. One of them is a company who built a private cloud, and they did it at the same cost that they were paying for their outsourced solution before, but 5 times the capacity. This is a company that is a late-stage startup, and for them, what they are doing now is they are optimizing their business model. They're moving from big idea phase as a startup to how do we turn this into a profitable billion-dollar company. Another one of these has a story about how they launched their geo-redundant cloud and did it with a team of 4 engineers. I think one of the things that you hear sometimes is OpenStack requires lots and lots of people. You have to have 50 people if you want to run OpenStack. That's not true, and we have a lot of examples of companies who have done it with a team of 3, 4, 5 engineers to get started. And so it's a great example. And we heard earlier about AWS and public clouds, and we have some great public cloud options that are running OpenStack, and we have customers who are running hybrid configurations with private OpenStack environments, public OpenStack environments, and including private clouds and bursting to AWS. Really what it all comes down to is that slide that I keep putting up here. It's choice. It's really all about choice. So if you're running a business or building a product, this freedom of choice gives you a bigger opportunity than you've ever had before to impact your business. And that's a really great thing. But it also means that you really have to provide something better so that they will choose it. And to me, if you sum it all up, choice is what the software-defined economy is all about. So thank you very much.